today we're going to engage in a question, which is basically, what is the value of approaching uncertainty through a specific method? Now, for me, when I end up in a situation where I don't know where to look and what to do, I think, to approach it with at least a framework of what to look for and what to not get sucked into, is actually a very important discipline for me to capture what's wanted and needed in the moment. So I'm not talking about looking ahead or what's the next step, but I'm talking about really look with method what's going on and look at the situation, interpreting the signs and the feedback that comes our way, such that we can, in fact, go one step after another and move forward, even though we're not going to look at 2 years from now, but at least we're going to go through what's happening with much more awareness for the focus point that will give us information on what kind of choices do we have to make right now.
Yeah, for me, it's a very interesting question, the methodology, because being an engineer, everything for me was like in sequence and predictive. And I think I'm switching now to a method which is much more on spontaneity, emergence. And for example, this video is done now completely on spontaneity. We are not prepared. Davide come with this question and we jump in the question. And the four of us have decided now to provide this new method on coaching, and we coach the four of us together, an executive. And it's really based on spontaneity and emergence. And it's an experiment, and the experiment is in fact very successful. So the method that for me moving forward into uncertainty is relying first on emergence and secondly on logic and step by step.
You see, when I hear the topic, the question, whichever you want to phrase it, the experience that I have is uncertainty as a label, when I just hear the word in my mind, has a certain impact. My brain catches it, it starts trying to make sense of it, it brings up ideas. If I am, as I have been, in a situation of uncertainty, there's a whole physiology of it. Depending what the uncertainty is about. If I'm looking forward to something through uncertainty, it's a very different experience. If I'm afraid of something through uncertainty, completely different arrangements. But the point of the matter is, if I find myself locking down and sort of going, oh my God, this is too much, I can't cope, fear and all the rest of it. If I fall into that box, which is what Davide was saying not to do, right? So if I've got enough presence of mind to realize that and observe what my own mind is churning up, what is it projecting, what is it trying to force onto the situation. In other words, my brain and your brain and everybody's brain projects ideas onto the world and says, this is what's going on. The thing to avoid is to take those projections literally and create the space to be able to see what's actually going on versus what I'm projecting. If that much can be accomplished, and Davide said it, I'm basically repeating it perhaps in a different language, to give oneself the space to not be engaged in what my mind says is going on, but to actually see what's going on, increases your chances of success 100-fold, because suddenly you are responding to what's there, not what you imagine. So the word uncertainty is a bit of a trap, actually. I wouldn't like to use it. I would say this is a new experience or some unknown thing. So to remain curious rather than to be convinced that it is uncertainty.
So for the discussion, we're staying with the word uncertainty. And in my experience with my work, when working with teams, what I notice when people and teams and organizations go through uncertain times is that the chemistry of the individual members, or shall we say the behavioral indicators of the team members, are such that they disconnect. They're not making eye contact. There's not a spontaneous willingness to come together and spontaneously communicate. So what they do is they rather look on the floor, or they look away. So that symbolically, this is indicating that there's some sort of disconnect in the cohesion of a team. So for me, the methodology that works very well is to find a way to reconnect spontaneously. And one of the things I'm watching, and one of our colleagues have mentioned that earlier on, is what happens at the tea can, or the coffee corner, or the smoke break corners, is people start engaging spontaneously. So I believe in spontaneous communication. And one of the ways to do it from a leadership perspective is to organize communication sessions where people just talk about certain topics, whether it's innovation, whether it's a way to communicate better, but certainly there's a aliveness that opens up in the connection process. And I love this first step connection, so that we can shift the energy within an organization. So if you who are watching, going through similar experiences, we, the four of us, C5, are inviting you to come for a chemistry session with the four of us to experience what different perspectives we can contribute to whatever you're experiencing. And below this video, you will notice our contact details, and you are open-heartedly welcome to come and experience what our perspectives can contribute to your perspective.